Hi there. You are listening to another episode of Inside the Techosystem, a podcast where we bring you fun and insightful topics about tech and its ecosystem in Nigeria. I am Chuka and I'm joined by Emmanuel. Hey man.
Hey guys.
How you feeling?
Feel good as usual, I guess.
Wow, you always feel good. That's nice. It's been
No,
nice.
I mean like during during the podcast.
Yeah. It's been a while since we recorded actually. Small gist. This is our first recording of the year. And we are not really proud to say it. Most of it is my fault anyways. But we're actually really glad to be here. I've actually really missed this. I love coming to record for this podcast, and it's always a joy and it's always fun. And as you all know, I'm like the fun guy here, and Emmanuel is just Emmanuel. What are you?
Have fun, bro. Have fun.
All right, so we're just going to be getting into this episode. Today's episode, we'll be talking about tech transfer season. And if you're into tech, not necessarily new, you must have heard this lingo being thrown around from time to time, tech transfer season. And what does it mean? It basically means a time in the tech ecosystem where people tend to switch jobs, right? So it's kind of originates from football and let's say basketball as well, transfer season. So like it's when players tend to change clubs and stuff like that. So they kind of coined that that slang from sports, and then they made it into a tech slang like transfer season, people switching jobs, getting higher pay, getting bigger roles in the tech ecosystem and in their jobs and their various careers. And it's actually so normal in the tech ecosystem these days. In fact, I think sticking with a company for over a year is what is regarded as abnormal. Emmanuel, am I right?
I think in the US it's like 2 years, but in Nigeria it's
In
like it's
Nigeria.
reduced,
Yeah, definitely. Like you stay in a company
Yeah.
for like 8
I mean,
months and
like
then
people at Paystack tweet, "Oh, I've been here for 2 long years" or something like that. Like
yes,
being in Paystack for 2 years for them is long.
yes, yes. I think I've been seeing recent tweets these days about staying in Paystack. I think one even said 4 years, and for someone that is, should I say, a junior in the ecosystem, they'll be like, 4 years, you stayed 4 years, wow, right? Because I know kind of like in our circle, after someone has stayed over here, it's so weird. I know it's not supposed to be like this, but we just start to think, okay, when are you going to leave?
Yeah.
It's so crazy. And so today, I think we'll just be talking about why this has become so normalized, especially in the ecosystem. Because for me, I don't think there's any other industry that I see that's job switching is so normal. It's so normalized. Like a lot of other industries,
Yeah.
people stay in banks for years, people stay in schools for years. I had a
Other
teacher.
industries, like you basically build your career like in one place.
Exactly. Like you just keep going up the ranks, I had a teacher that taught my elder brother, my elder sister, me, my younger sister, like the same teacher, right? Because we all went to the same high school and stuff. So that's basically what today's topic is going to be about. We want to like try and break it down. Okay, so why is this so normal and stuff? So yeah, all right. Uh, we'll start with the description. Emmanuel, can you shed a little bit more light about what tech transfer means to you?
Okay. Tech transfer season is, like you already explained, just like
Mm-hmm.
a time where people like, it's unfortunately falls at the beginning of the year, which is like a very key time for companies. So imagine like your key staff, for instance, begin to leave on the
Mm,
first month of the fiscal year.
mm,
You get, so just a time where people tend to leave companies after spending say like 1 year.
Mm,
So I
man.
think it's just because there's no single reason actually. There's a lot of factors that play. But in
Okay.
Nigeria, like the time is really small. Like the time people spend in companies nowadays is really short.
Okay.
So I like to blame. I don't want to blame anybody, but let's just keep this on a light mode. Light
Okay.
notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you I know you said there are a number of factors that can factor into one person leaving a company, but like for you, what would you think is the major factor, is the major thing that you'd be like, okay, I think it's time to move out?
So one of the reasons people do like move on from their current jobs um will be adventure. So like if you stay in a particular company as a tech
Mm,
person, right?
mm,
Like tech is about solving problems.
mm,
So if you get to the point where you're no more solving problems, you're no more like innovating, you don't have this there's this drive that people have like when they go to their work, or today I'm
mm,
going to solve this particular problem, tomorrow I'll solve
mm.
another problem.
Yeah.
So if you run out of problems basically to solve, you tend to your job now becomes like it feels manual, and then
Mm.
at that point you feel like which other club is out there? You
Okay,
get, so
okay, okay.
I think that's like one reason. I think is not bad. It's not a bad reason.
Okay. I think I kind of agree with you, yeah. But like if we base this on the fact of on the notion of solving problems, right? I think there's this drive that is in everybody when they start out a new phase in their life. It could be a job, it could be whatever. There's this new feeling that you get, right? But then when you say solving problems, yeah, I think I have a friend where, he has been talking about leaving his current place because he just feels like he's doing a lot of recycled stuff. Like when he first got there, he was learning a lot on the job. He was, trying to keep up. But like now he feels like he has, probably learned all that there is at the current place and is probably looking for a new adventure. So I think I kind of agree with the adventure reason, right? But now what's fun is that we talked about tech being the main industry where you can transfer at any time you want. But what
Yeah.
happens? What happened? What would you say about other jobs like banking jobs that not a lot changes in centuries in a long time, right? So don't those guys deserve adventure for crying out loud? So how would you defend your adventure reason for jobs like that, like teaching jobs? If one
so
physics teacher
I
can teach the
think so.
same thing for years.
So the
Okay.
difference is that there is an opportunity to do that. Like in other industries, like there
Mm,
isn't so much opportunities in moving. As
mm,
in tech, like if you're moving from one place to another, it's not like you're going to a lower place. You're
mm,
going like you're either going to the same level or you're going higher. You get, so
mm,
the incentives for living are still good, unlike some other industries where possibly if you leave, you're probably going to a lower position in another place
mm. Oh,
because
okay.
maybe you've not completed a certificate, or you've not completed a particular set of things that will require you
Yeah,
to enter the next level. So if you
yeah,
go to another place, you're probably
yeah.
starting afresh. So
That's
the
true.
incentive for tech is a little higher than other industries.
Mm, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. All right. So I know this is not cast in stone, but personally for you, okay. In fact, instead of asking whether it's a good or a bad thing, I want us to talk about the advantages and the disadvantages, and not just for the person being transferred, for the company as well. So, like, I'd like to hear your takes on, the whole transfer thing for,
On both sides.
yeah, on both sides, both the disadvantages, the advantages, stuff like
Okay.
that. And, you could also talk about your own experience as well.
Yeah. So for the company side, the advantages they're not so easy to see because imagine somebody
Because
works
they're
for
losing
you
people,
for
yeah.
2 years. Yeah, exactly. Like the cognitive load of having to recycle people into your company. Like that recycling process of, oh, okay, we know that this guy will soon leave. Oh, yeah,
Mm,
start looking for the next person. That's like very, very hard to keep up with.
mm,
So to see an advantage in for companies is hard, but we have to, like, obviously we want to find the advantage. So one
mm.
of the advantages for companies is like you have the opportunity to get new and fresh perspectives. Like
Okay.
if somebody new joins your company, is bringing something new, it should bring something new. You
Yeah.
get,
Mm,
so that's an advantage, but it's not immediate. It doesn't have like an immediate reward per se, because um depending on the role that has been changed, sure. So like the most common roles that are involved in this tech transfer is not goalkeeper or or defender. It's usually strikers. So it's
Yo, that's
like people that
true.
it's people that are in the front,
Yeah.
like the people that basically build the product, that the ones that switch fast.
Mm,
Management roles are, they are hardly switched. Do you get?
mm, mm,
Like people don't, every year people don't change CEOs, they don't change CTOs, they don't change COOs, they don't change all those kind of roles because they're
mm.
very they take a lot of time to develop
Yeah.
um people in them. So
Like there's a longer onboarding call for that. Like for
exactly.
someone to be
And
onboarded on that role. Yeah.
yeah, and there's more, what would I say? There's more consequences when someone like that leaves the company. Like take for instance Microsoft. When this guy left, Bill Gates, like when he stepped down, like they had a
Mm,
lot of challenges. Like so when someone from that kind of level leaves a company, it's more, that's more consequences than someone in a different position.
mm,
So moving on, the advantages is, the first one is the fresh perspectives or like fresh energy in your company,
mm.
but that's hard to quantify because like it's usually not immediate. You get,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there's that. Apart from that, which other thing? I'm it's really hard to find advantages for companies.
Okay.
So I move to the disadvantages. The disadvantages are actually obvious. Number one, it affects, like if people leave very frequently, it affects the morale of the rest of the team. Like imagine you have um an engineering manager leave a company. Those that the person was overseeing will probably
Yeah.
have like, they probably have lower morale, depending on
Yeah.
if you can get someone else that is also good to
Yeah.
replace the person
Yeah.
that left. So it affects how the people that are still in the company view the company. So if the frequency is too high, it can also, like if the frequency is high, it can lead to higher frequency. Like if five people left a company yesterday,
Mm,
it could lead to seven more people leaving the next week. You get,
hmm.
so that
Yeah.
number can be going up based on that. So retention is actually something companies work on, like staff retention.
Yeah.
Like you have this normal metrics of how many users are using your product, how many active
Yeah.
users, and then you have
Yeah.
retention. There's
Yeah.
also retention for staff. So
Wow.
the higher your retention, the better your culture, your company environment
I
is.
think I agree with that. Yeah. I think I
Yeah.
do.
Like so disadvantages are actually endless for for companies. But for
Okay.
the individual, the advantages are, it's like opposite, so almost opposite.
I
Like
think I agree with that as well. Yeah, because increase in pay. I have a friend that said he
yeah.
was working three jobs, and then when he left to the current one he's in, he was earning more than the three jobs pay combined in just one company, right? And I guess this one is working as an engineer, and it's just really.
Yeah.
So, what about the disadvantages for individuals?
For individuals, yes. So I was watching a tutorial, or more like a course, from this getify guy, the guy
Oh,
that is
okay,
responsible for you don't know
front end.
JS, that
Okay,
popular
yeah.
book. Yeah.
Was he on front end
So
masters?
he, yeah.
Oh,
The guy
okay.
is everywhere there. So he was talking about his own career, personal career, before he became a JavaScript teacher. Like
Mm,
he had learned different languages, switched jobs plenty times.
Mm,
So he was talking about the fact that there's a particular problem that he was trying to solve in his mind by
mm,
switching jobs a lot, but he didn't, like, switching the jobs didn't actually solve it. So like he had this cycle of, okay, he joins the company, there's vibe, he writes code, there's probably one bug that is so hard to fix that then everything now becomes bad. Like things start breaking down in his own team or something, and then he feels like leaving the company is the best thing. Go to another place.
wow.
It still continues like that, like that. So like a lot of, I know in the tech ecosystem right now, people may not be saying it, but there are a lot of places like where you work for so long and then you never actually launch, or you have several things that are spoiling the work that you're doing. But people obviously won't talk about that. So imagine having to deal with that and then you think the solution is leaving. You go to another place, you probably face something similar. You keep living, jumping around, and then you never really spend enough time building something that you are proud of. You get,
Mm,
so
mm,
that could be a disadvantage if you're the kind of person who will work based on, let's just write this code. I don't care whether it gets to the users or not, as long
yeah.
as my pay is
If you don't
complete.
really care about impact, yeah.
Yes, if you don't care about impact, it's really going to affect, like, no matter where you go to. Like
Mm,
if you don't, like, it will always like follow you. So that's a disadvantage. Another disadvantage I think there is would be you never really become, like, you may never be growing, like in terms of I don't want to say seniority, I would say like in depth of knowledge. So if you switch jobs, like for instance, let's say you're working at a particular company and then the level you got to was handling say 5 things. If you
mm,
switch jobs, you're probably not going to handle more than 5 because you're starting again. You
mm,
get,
mm,
so, but obviously that also depends on how much level you get to before moving to a different job. So if you're moving to a higher position, then it's fine because obviously higher position means maybe a little more responsibility. But
mm,
the disadvantages for transferring like very frequently, it's like it fulfills a temporary need of adventure sometimes,
mm, mm.
but it may actually be setting you up for something really dangerous or something catastrophic in the future.
In the
Like
future, yeah.
if you look at like there's someone called Jeff Dean, is the head of Google Brain. That's the people that do the AI part of Google. The guy has
Oh,
been
okay.
working with Google since the 90s.
Wow.
He still writes his code in Emacs. Like
What?
he's very old school. So there's this thing called, I think, Hadoop.
Yeah.
Is for processing data, like one kind
Mm,
of like really nice project.
mm,
So someone that built something like that probably may not be able to build it if he had been switching jobs like a lot,
mm.
because he will never really sit that long to build a product that is so large, that is
Yeah.
impacting the whole world.
Yeah.
Like Google AI is like the most obvious AI. Like I think an average person knows that Google is using AI
Yeah.
to get.
True. True.
So like having that much of an impact requires like staying in one thing for a long time. And that's something
Mm,
that you may not be able to get if you switch a lot.
mm. I kind of
So
find out that I guess our generation were kind of, as in, we're kind of impatient.
um
Let me talk now. I'm serious. I mean, I kind
our
of,
generation.
now, yes, now I kind of feel like we're a lot, like we're really impatient when it comes to a lot
Oh yes, yes. I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying like don't open our yash.
of because you'd see some things that you'd be like, okay, naturally someone should be able to. And I'm not just talking about jobs. I'm
Yeah.
not just talking about careers, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I'm talking
yeah,
about a
yeah.
lot of things. Like, okay, naturally, someone
Mm-hmm.
should be able to wait for this. It could even be standing in the line. And you just
You should be
notice
able
that.
to wait for a page to load.
So, exactly, quite a number of things. But then we are so obsessed with moving things faster and faster and trying to consume so many things at the same time and trying to reach
Yeah.
so many places and I feel like in the present it probably gives you that that vibe in
Temporary
the
high.
moment. Yeah, that's temporarily high. But in the future, I don't
Yeah.
know how much of a good that would be for a
Yeah.
single individual, right? I don't know if we are
Yeah.
meant to process that much at the same at a single time or in one lifetime self. So yeah, I kind of find out that sitting with something and trying to, and I even struggle with it. So I'm not just throwing shade in the air. I think I struggle with it as well. Like sitting with something and
Yeah.
saying, okay, let me finish this. That's why we end up having 200 open Chrome tabs on our laptops. We can't just focus, and it's a big issue,
Yeah.
really. So,
Yeah.
um, I know we talked about this a little, but let me switch it up a bit. We talked about when do you know when to switch, and you mentioned something about finding new adventures, right? I don't know if you have
Yeah.
something else to add when you know when to switch.
Is it for advantages?
No, no, I'm talking about I'm talking about the topic of
Okay,
when do
when
you know
okay,
when to
okay,
switch?
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's the biggest. Another one
yeah,
would be like if you have like it depends on everybody's career goals. Some people have
yeah,
a goal of as many adventures as possible. Some have one single impact kind of adventure.
mm,
Some have a lot of people have different things. So based on your own objectives or your own goals, like
mm,
that will determine a lot
okay,
about when.
okay,
Then so I think when is not as important as let's say, how do I say this? Um okay, it's when, but it's not based on time. It's not based on number of years. It's based
okay,
on assessing the current situation. So if the
okay,
situation gets to this, then that's when you should leave. You get
okay,
so if
okay,
you get a
okay,
situation where your career goals don't match the company goals anymore, you
okay,
could decide to leave. If you
okay,
get to a point where you feel like the adventure, you want a different adventure, or the
yeah,
adventure here is no more
yeah,
tickling your fancy in quotes,
yeah.
then
I think that's
maybe
really smart.
yeah,
And this is the first time I'm hearing it from you because you literally just said it depends on the situation and not the number of years. And
yeah,
I think we get it wrong where someone may have stayed for maybe a year and they say, oh, why do you want to
yeah.
leave? I've been there for too long. Bruh. What kind of excuse is that? That does not I don't know what that is. Right? Maybe the staff retention team should probably look into
Yeah,
what they're doing wrong. But yeah, that
yeah,
actually does make a lot of sense. Like the situation and
mm-hmm,
not just the number of years. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
The next question will
Sorry,
be
there's something I wanted to say.
okay.
About the career goals. We had an episode where we talked about like taking your career seriously. We
Yeah.
hosted Tochukwu Nkemdilim,
Yeah.
so you can check that
Probably
out.
probably
We'll
our
share the
most
links
listened
in
episode.
the yeah, we'll share the links in the show notes.
Yeah, shout out to Chuku, man. Like people kept coming back to me about that episode. Like people keep coming back to me that bro, that this episode was so spot on. Like this is probably what I've been going through in my career and stuff. So that episode really, really, I mean, reached out to a lot of people. Another question
Yeah,
would be, when do you know when to stay?
I guess the last answer answers this also.
Okay.
Based on like your style, your career goals and stuff.
Okay. All right, this final question. Okay, we have just one final question, and then we'll be rounding up this episode. This one is kind of personal, and it will be based on two things. And Emmanuel will be answering. I'll be answering as well. Okay, there it goes. Okay, what are the things you would switch for, and what are the things you would stay for in a company?
Okay, so to stay neutral and ensure future employers and current employers and every kind of employer don't take any don't take anything personal from me. So the things I will switch for, I'll try to be as vague as possible, or
Mm,
I'll just summarize all the things I will say before. It's just based on your career goals, based on
mm,
my career goals. At the
mm,
moment, I won't say I have career goals, but I have a little bit of that. I
mm,
have like maybe a short term. I just for me making an impact like is really really key for me. So if I'm in a
mm.
place where I can actually make impact, I don't
Yeah,
mean that vague kind of make impact. I mean like
yeah.
actual impact in the business and also to the customers of the business. If I
Okay,
can make if I can get the two of that of those, sorry, um
okay,
I'm perfectly fine where I am. if I can get one and a little bit of the other, I think I'm okay where I am. So
Mm,
for me, I don't really focus a lot more. I don't focus so much on itemized goals for career. I focus more
okay.
on like
The big
a
picture.
vision or a big picture. Then everything
Yeah.
else can fall under, like all those other ones could be secondary, because the big picture is really important for me. So
Mm,
yeah, those two.
okay. That makes sense. For me, let's see. Okay, Emmanuel actually makes a very good point when he says, I think I've run into people where, they say they're just writing code or they're just building stuff or they're just doing stuff and they don't really care if whatever they're doing actually matters, right? And it's kind of hard for me to understand because I've worked on products that I care about and I've actually burnt out. Like I've burned out. Like I've been so tired to even pick up my system to do anything. So imagine someone that doesn't even care about it at all. So that's kind of weird. So I'd actually say, yeah, I'll stay where, I'm actually making impact. And I know Emmanuel was scared to say it, but I'll say it for everybody in tech ecosystem. I will stand up for you. If the money is more, I will move. If the
Don't be
money,
vain,
if the
guy.
money is more, I will move for you. Yes. Google can call me. Microsoft can reach me on this line. Yes, I'm available. If you're paying more, I will gladly come to your company. Thank you and God
Again,
bless.
again, again, that boils down to your career goals. Like if your career goals,
I feel like
like
I feel like you should be looking to
if
make more money at each point in your
no, yeah, yeah,
career.
of course, like in your career goals, if obviously you have like a balance between money and impact.
Mm,
So it won't be, oh, I just want to make impact, no
mm,
money. Obviously,
mm,
like you consider you consider the money now, because
sure,
if you're making so much impact, you need to be rewarded for it.
sure. I don't,
Yeah,
and this is probably for a lot of juniors out there. I mean, initially you may not actually make a lot of money, if any money at all. Sef. That's if you even make any at all. Sef. But
yeah,
I think earlier I feel like you should be focusing a lot more on impact, yeah, and growth,
yeah,
and not just
yeah,
money. I feel like the money
and
will eventually come, but like earlier, it's
yeah,
probably going to be
yeah.
difficult. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Keep this in mind. Tough times never last.
Only tough people do. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to this episode.
Yeah, so if you have like stories of tech transfers, or you want to tell us some of the reasons why you transfer to a different club, or you
True.
have contrary opinions to what we talked about,
Yeah.
we would love to hear. Probably talk about it in another episode.
Yeah.
So you can send it to us as an email, or you DM
Yeah.
us on Twitter, or send us a
Yeah.
DM on Instagram
Yeah.
at Inside the Techos, and for our Gmail, insidethetechosystem@gmail.com.
Yeah. We'll leave the links in the show notes down below. Thank you so
Yep.
much for sticking with us through this episode.
Yeah. The transfer
Yeah.
window is almost closed, so if you're making any moves, are you sure
Yeah.
you're done?
So yes. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Remember, we release new episodes every other Wednesday, and you can subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcast, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. If you would love to connect with us, you can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Inside the Techos, or subscribe to our newsletter and shoot us an email at insidethetechosystem@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners. You can follow the host on Twitter as well, Chuka at CWadiogu and Emmanuel at Olalua_98. All right, see you in the next one.